In 1979, in the peaceful Texas hill country, there is a spring with incredibly clear water and a scary secret. Two friends and their diving buddies are curious and thirsty for adventure, so they dive into the deep darkness. But when the clear water suddenly turns murky and brown, a frightening battle to stay alive begins. Will they make it out of Jacob's Well safely? Or will they become its next victims, lost to its mysterious depths forever? Watch this video to uncover the chilling truth of what unfolded beneath the surface. Jacob's Well is a natural spring in the Texas Hill Country that flows from Cypress Creek. It is located northwest of Wimberley, Texas. The spring is part of Jacob's Well Natural Area, or JWNA, which is managed by the Hays County Parks Department. Visitors can enter JWNA at 1699 Mount Sharp Road in Wimberley, Texas. The spring has a round opening that's about 12 feet wide and is a popular swimming spot. The cave below the spring goes down about 30 feet and then continues at an angle through a series of narrow chambers, eventually reaching an average depth of 120 feet. In the past, water from the Trinity Aquifer used to gush out of the cave, reaching a flow of 170 U.S. gallons per second, which is 640 liters per second, back in 1924, and shooting 6 feet into the air. Jacob's Well has been affected by too much water being taken out of the Trinity Aquifer in order to meet supply demands by Aqua Texas, which is part of Essential Utilities. This has caused the water level in the aquifer to drop, and as a result, the flow of water through Jacob's Well has decreased. Nowadays, you can only see a faint ripple on the surface of Cypress Creek where the spring used to flow strongly. For the first time in recorded history, the spring stopped flowing in 2000. It stopped flowing again in 2008, 2011, 2013, and 2022. These interruptions have led to ongoing efforts to conserve water and improve water quality in the area. In 2010, Hays County bought 50 acres of land around Jacob's Well in order to protect the spring from development. The Wimberley Valley Watershed Association, also known as the WVWA, also transferred 31 acres of nearby land to the county, creating a total protected area of 81 acres called the West Ridge Tract. These measures aim to preserve the spring and also ensure that its water continues to flow for future generations. It is known for its clear water, and it's a very popular spot for swimming in the summer. However, it is also known for its dangerous underwater cave system. The cave network has narrow passages and complex pathways that are difficult even for experienced divers. In the mid-1850s, a newcomer to Texas was walking beside a creek between San Antonio and Austin. He was looking for a good spot to build near water. As he walked along the creek, he noticed a strange disturbance in the water. There was a section of the creek that seemed rougher than the rest, like a bubbling cauldron. Unlike regular rapids, which are caused by water flowing over rocks, this disturbance was coming straight up from the creek, bubbling as high as 6 feet into the air. The man did not know it at the time, but he had discovered a natural spring that would later be named Jacob's Well. Jacob's Well became famous for being one of the most dangerous diving spots in Texas and even in the world. Over a period of 5 years, this hole in Texas was responsible for several tragic cave diving accidents. Local officials tried to make the cave system safer by blocking the entrance. They used a grate made of rebar and quick-setting concrete. However, within a few months, divers found a way to get around the blocked entrance. They even left a plastic sign that said, quote, "You can't keep us out." As of this video, there have been 12 confirmed deaths in the Jacob's Well cave system. Some of the bodies have never been recovered. The story of Jacob's Well serves as a reminder of the dangers of cave diving and the need for caution and proper training. In September of 1979, two men named Kent Maupin and Mark Brashear decided to go on a camping trip to Jacob's Well with a few other divers. They planned to dive into the first and second chambers of Jacob's Well because these parts are easier to explore than the deeper third and fourth chambers. However, what the group didn't know was that Kent had always been fascinated by the underwater cave system. They thought that diving at night would give them peace and quiet without other swimmers around. So, at midnight on September 9th, the group entered the water and began their dive. They descended to the first chamber, which is about 25 feet deep. The water was clear, and they could see the walls of the cave all around them. The group was excited, but they were also careful as they explored the first chamber. They moved slowly, and they stayed close to each other to avoid getting lost. Now, even though the first and second chambers were easier to dive into, they still had to be careful. They knew that the deeper chambers could be dangerous, so they planned to stay within the safer areas. The quiet of the night added to the thrill of their adventure. The water was calm, and the only sounds were their breathing and the bubbles from their diving equipment. The group felt a mix of excitement and respect for the beauty and mystery of Jacob's Well as they explored the underwater world. Jacob's Well has a series of chambers that get smaller as you go deeper. The first chamber leads to the second chamber through a narrow passage. The second chamber then drops vertically down to about 55 feet. Beyond that is the third chamber, which goes down at an angle to about 75 feet deep. The real challenge, though, is the narrow opening between the third and fourth chambers. To get through this tight spot, divers have to take off their tanks in order to pass through. This makes diving in Jacob's Well very difficult and dangerous, especially for those exploring the deeper chambers. At that moment, Kent was caught between conflicting stories about what lay beyond the narrow opening. Some said that it was a dead end, while others hinted at a large chamber that was yet to be explored. Despite the threatening tales of 4 previous divers who never returned, Kent, driven by curiosity and a sense of adventure, couldn't resist the mystery. Along with his friend Mark and another diver named Joe, Kent descended into the third chamber. As they approached the small opening to the fourth chamber, Joe watched in fear as Kent and Mark began removing their tanks and swimming into the darkness without hesitation. They didn't have backup lights or safety lines, and Joe just could not understand their impulsive actions. He flashed his light, desperately trying to signal them, but Mark just disappeared into the darkness without even acknowledging the warning. Joe felt a growing sense of dread as he realized the seriousness of their situation. He knew that they were in trouble, and he feared the worst for his friends. Kent and Mark were using steel tanks, which held less air than Joe's aluminum tank. Going deeper into the cave meant that they would use up their air more quickly. Checking his gauges, Joe knew that if he ran low on air, their situation would become critical very quickly. In a final effort to communicate with them, Joe banged his tanks with his dive knife and dropped his light into the opening, hoping that it would help guide Kent and Mark back. But no one appeared. With a heavy heart, Joe returned to the surface. He was never sure of what had actually happened to his friends. His fears grew as he sat by the water's edge, removing his gear. The water, once clear, had now turned murky brown. It was a chilling sign that something had gone very wrong. Either Kent or Mark were in a panic state, stirring up silt, or a catastrophic event like a cave-in or a gravel slide had occurred. Despite the uncertainty, Joe had a very sinking feeling in his gut that his friends would not be coming back up from the depths of Jacob's Well. Several hours later, the rescue team arrived at the scene where the rest of the group members had been searching tirelessly for Kent and Mark. They were exhausted and shocked, having found no sign of their friends. As the rescuers discussed whether to continue immediately or wait until morning, Don Dibble, the team leader, remained unsure about what to do. Eventually, Don decided to send 2 divers down in order to assess the situation and try to find Kent and Mark's bodies. To their disappointment, the divers discovered that the entrance to the fourth chamber was nearly blocked by gravel. This made it impossible for them to locate Kent and Mark. When they came back up, they told Don about the serious situation. He then decided to postpone the rescue operation until the next day. By then, they could gather a larger team with better equipment to help in the search. The next morning, with a full team ready, divers went into the water equipped with tools to clear the gravel blocking the entrance. Unfortunately, their efforts seemed to make things worse as more gravel slid in order to fill the gap that they created by digging. Faced with slow progress, Don decided to take action himself. He descended into the water and he placed an extra tank at the bottom of the first chamber. He also ran a safety line along the entire path in order to ensure safety for the team. When Don reached the entrance to the fourth chamber, he found it blocked by a huge pile of gravel. With only about 10 minutes of air left in his tank, he squeezed himself into the narrow space, hoping to catch a glimpse of Kent and Mark. He searched desperately, hoping to find any sign of the missing friends. However, his efforts were met with frustration when the water's currents stirred up silt, making it very hard to see. In a moment of panic, he realized the dangers of moving the gravel pile. Before he could react, his torso and arms got stuck, and he couldn't reach his safety line as the area filled with silt. Trapped in the dark, muddy water, Don struggled to signal to his fellow diver. His movements were slowed by the debris around him. Even though he was very experienced, panic began to grip him as his breathing regulator failed to deliver adequate air. Desperate to free himself, he involuntarily jerked and then managed to break free from the debris. Just then, his companion was able to quickly give him a new breathing regulator, ensuring that he could breathe properly again. As they came back to the surface, Don felt a painful expansion in his stomach due to the pressure change. It caused him intense pain. He was rushed to the hospital and he quickly underwent emergency surgery. Doctors found that the rapid change in pressure had caused the trapped air in his stomach to cause his stomach to burst. After several weeks of rest and treatment, Don slowly regained his health. Everyone felt a great sense of relief as Don recovered his strength and health after the very scary incident. Now, while Don was recovering, another skilled diver stepped in to lead the rescue efforts. After evaluating the situation, he located Don's light where he had been stuck. He realized that to reach the fourth chamber, he would have to clear the gravel. Special equipment, like a chamber to help with pressure and a vacuum, were all brought in to help remove the gravel. But despite the team's best efforts, what was supposed to be a one-day task stretched out into a week-long effort. Tensions rose between city officials and the dive company over the mounting costs, causing a temporary halt in the rescue operations. In a final effort, a diver with a camera went down to see how things were going. Initially, it didn't look very good, but the video did reveal one glimmer of hope: a bunch of fish that were gathered in one spot. This hinted that, despite the difficulties, they were moving forward. After carefully reviewing the footage, they found a tank valve and a regulator that likely belonged to Kent and Mark. However, the disagreement between the dive company and the city was still unresolved. 12 days after the tragic dive, the search was officially called off. Months later, Don, determined to prevent future tragedies, arranged for bags of concrete to be lowered down into the cave. He spent hours building a wall over the entrance to the fourth chamber. The wall had a metal grate that would allow water to flow, but it blocked access to where the bodies were. Don hoped that this would stop divers from risking their lives. But unfortunately, his efforts didn't work out. Despite the barricade, the grate was removed within months. In its place was a defiant note: "You can't keep us out." Undeterred by the barrier, divers continued to explore Jacob's Well, pushing the limits of its depth. But in all of this, Kent and Mark's story has taught us a very important lesson that is widely acknowledged today. It is understood that the first chamber is suitable for beginners who are new to diving. The second chamber is more appropriate for those who are gaining experience. The third chamber is for advanced divers who have a lot of skill and training. The fourth chamber, however, is known for being extremely dangerous. It is said to be for the divers who take serious risk with their lives. Kent and Mark's tragic experience serves as a stark reminder of the dangers involved in diving beyond one's skill level. Today, this lesson guides divers and authorities in ensuring that safety protocols are followed at Jacob's Well and similar diving spots. It emphasizes the importance of respecting the challenges that are posed by underwater caves and making sure to take appropriate precautions in order to prevent accidents. Sadly, despite the heroic rescue efforts, Kent and Mark never came up from the inky depths of Jacob's Well. their exact fate remains a mystery, a chilling reminder of the unforgiving nature of the cave. Don, meanwhile, had thankfully recovered, but he was forever marked by the ordeal. And as for Jacob's Well itself, it continues to beckon daredevils, a beautiful yet dangerous place where the thrill of exploration meets the sobering reality of risk. But one thing is for sure. The story of Kent and Mark serves as a cautionary tale, a haunting echo in the underwater chambers, reminding all who enter, respect the water, respect your limits, or you might just end up like them, lost forever in Jacob's Well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more thrilling explorations. Dive safe, and we'll see you next time.